Hi guys, and welcome to another video. Today the weather is perfect for what I'm about to film, which is the new Fenty Beauty Pro Filter Soft Matte Powder Foundation. Very long name. Obviously the main purpose of this video is to really go through the new launch for Fenty Beauty. At the same time, I wanted to just go through a few other things that I picked up and also some of my existing collection as well. Instead of just getting one shade, I decided to get two, just because I wanted to be a little bit different. I wanted to get one for my base and one as almost like a bronzer slash contour. Why not? And I just wanted to see how it performed in both capacities. With the matching, it was so difficult because, do you know what? One thing I love about Fenty Beauty is the range of shades. They're really known for that as a brand, celebrating women of all different skin tones and shades. The only thing I'd say is matching is so difficult because they literally have these like hand or arm swatches on their website, which I'll pop on the screen so you can have a look. And it gives you an indicator of where you need to be, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's accurate. So it'll be interesting to see if I've got it right. More importantly, I've never used Fenty complexion products before. And the main reason why is because I felt like it was more for oily skin. I've heard many different things. I've heard so many women love it. I'm talking about the liquid foundation, but I've also had a lot of women say that it's drying. And obviously I have dry skin, so I steer away from it. No matter how much something is trending, I steer away from it. So the only thing and disclaimer that I want to say is this is obviously a matte foundation and it's marketed as one, but though I have dry skin, I still wanted to give it a go. Most powders I would say are on the drier side, therefore it's perfect for people with normal combination oily skin, but I have used powders in the past and they've worked beautifully, so I thought, why would I not try out the Rihanna one and really see what I think about it, see if it's suitable for dry skin types like myself. In terms of shade, I decided to get 210, and for the bronze I decided to get 360. What I love about the descriptions is that they will say that it's got a slightly yellow tone or a pinky tone or even a neutral undertone. So I decided to go with the ones with more of a neutral undertone. So this is what the powder foundation looks like. It's a beautiful cover. It's sort of this octagonal shape and it's a kind of like an ivory shade, but it feels quite weighty. It looks quite luxurious and it's got the shade name at the back. Then when you open it up, it comes with a mirror. This is obviously the shade, and it comes with a matching octagonal sponge. Every kind of advertisement I've seen for it, they use the sponge to apply the foundation and dab it on. So what I decided to do is do the sponge on one side of my face and then do the usual powder brush that I would use on the other side. See if it makes a difference in terms of finish, texture, and also coverage. So this is 210, like I said. I mean, I'll swatch it quickly. Really, you have to try foundation on your face to know if it's the right match, but that's what 210 looks like. I'm normally somewhere between sand and beige in Bobbi Brown makeup, just to give you an idea, but it really depends on whether it's summer or winter. As you know, we need different shades for different seasons, so the only way I'll really know is by trying it on. Let me just show you the contour bronzer shade I got. This is 360 and it's this sort of a neutral tone. I thought would be perfect for bronzer slash contour. And again, I know they have a bronzer in powder and I know they have a creamy bronzer, which I own, but I really wanted to give this new launch a fair shot, try different shades out and go from there really. And that's 360. So it does have a little bit of warmth to it, even though it says neutral, but again, swatching on the hand does nothing. You really need to try it on your face to really know how accurate it is. Whilst we're at it, I decided to do a full complexion and I got the Pro Filt'R Instant Retouch Concealer. Again, I've never tried this before. I got shade 150. I did a tiny little swatch earlier and it did look quite pale, so let's see how it looks under my eyes. and that's 150. Obviously with your under eye, you want the concealer to be slightly brighter, not too much. If you want to stay in a natural realm, you don't want it to be too bright, just slightly to give you that brightening effect. So I'm going to go in with the concealer first because it's creamy. Having had swatched it earlier, I know this concealer is quite thick and it's a lot thicker than I would normally go for in terms of a concealer. So I'm going to be really light-handed with it at first. So I've used the tiniest amount and you can see just how full coverage it is. It's not a bad thing because obviously a little goes a long way. It's not drying and it hasn't creased, so let's see how it lasts throughout the course of this video. So I'll just quickly do my other eye. It looks paler just because I've got quite a lot of redness on my cheeks, but once we've got the base on, it will blend in better. Secondly, it's a little bit brighter than I normally would go for, so I think 150 is too light for me. It looked fine online, but again, that's a problem with trying to color match and swatch online. So now I'm going to go in with the foundation in color 210, and I will first go in with the sponge and see what I think. What I like about the foundation is that there's no scent to it, which is nice because it's going on your face. I have to admit, and if anybody's been following me for a while, you'll know that I hate sponges as an applicator of choice to apply foundation, but since this is the applicator that comes with it, I wanted to try. I personally don't like this sponge. I just find it really floppy and flimsy, and it's a bit of work to apply the foundation. However, what I will say is that when you sort of rub it and blend it out, it does blend out nicely. The colour is obviously a lot warmer than my natural skin tone, but it's not so bad that it doesn't work. It does claim to have like a blur filter effect, and so that's why I deliberately didn't apply any primer, because normally I tend to have like larger pores around my nose area, the sort of T-zone areas where it tends to get a little bit oilier. So I kind of left it purposely just to see if it really would make it blur out, and when I'm looking in the mirror, it actually does. It's really blurred it out. I'm quite impressed by that. Another reason why I don't normally like using a sponge is because it tends to, where you have drier skin, when you're rubbing the skin, it will sort of almost like encourage texture in the skin. But again, I'm quite impressed because it hasn't done that. My skin is really smooth. Obviously, I've gone in with a really moisturizing cream, face cream, just to prepare the base and ensure it's not too drying, but so far, so good. The only criticism and shame about it right now is that the shade is wrong, but that's not their fault, that's mine. I will go into more kind of detailed thoughts in just a moment, but I just wanted to try the same powder foundation with a brush this time and see if that makes it difficult, easier, etc. Then I like to go in with a smaller brush just for the like smaller areas of my face, like around my nose. So I personally found the brush much easier to use as a tool because you can really control it. I found that it was actually less yellow than this side where I used a sponge and had to apply pressure, and it wasn't perhaps like blending or applying as easily as it does with the brush. So far so good. I just kind of want to leave it to sit for a while before I give you my thoughts. I will also make sure that I keep it on for like the rest of the day. And as always, I will write an update down below so that you can see how I've got on with it and whether it's changed up. Because you know, when you first apply a foundation, it can often look quite radiant, or it's sitting really nicely on the skin, or even it's looking very perfect, very flawless in a way. But as the day goes on, you notice a couple of things come up and it starts to niggle at you, whether it's like your face starts getting shinier or you start to see texture on your skin. So I just want to see how it lasts throughout the day, because right now it's looking perfect bar the color match. So like I said, I got shade 210. It's far too warm for me. If anything, I would say this is a perfect shade for summertime when I'm a little bit more tanned, but right now where it's winter and I'm pasty like Casper the Ghost, this is too warm, and that's one of the negatives of color matching online. But once you find the perfect shade, you're set. Now let's move on to the bronzer contour. So like I said, this isn't initially made for that purpose, but I thought let's try it, why not? So I'm not going to use a sponge because of that reason. I'm going to go in with the same brush and just sort of give a bit more definition to my face. So I've just applied a little bit of this 360 on my skin as to give it a bit more definition and warmth, and it's actually really nice. The powder formula is actually so beautiful and sort of glides on and blends out so smoothly. Normally where I apply normal bronzer, I tend to get, not always, but sometimes I get like patches of skin where it hasn't covered properly. But this, because it is a foundation, ultimately does give it that coverage. So it's really nice, and it's something that we definitely keep to use as a bronzer when I want a little bit more warming up and to look like I've been on holiday. Unfortunately, because the concealer is so light, even though the foundation base has done most of the covering up to kind of balance it out, I do feel like I've been on a ski holiday, you know, when you wear those goggles and you tan everywhere else but around your eyes like a panda. So it is slightly bright, but hopefully once I put the rest of my makeup on, it will all balance out and I will look human again. So like I said, Fenty do have their own powder bronzer, which I don't own. However, I do have the cream bronzer. I think it's called the Freestyle cream bronzer, and it's beautiful. I'm not normally a cream bronzer fan in the slightest, but this is the best that I've ever used and I absolutely love it. And then the creamy blusher. So I could be wrong, I don't think I am. I think that Fenty Beauty don't have any powder blushes, which really surprises me. I don't know why, but she has only creamy blushes. If I'm wrong, I'll pop it on the screen, but I don't think I saw powder blushes. So this one is a creamy one called Petal Poppin, and absolutely love it. It just disperses the right amount of pink on your cheeks and gives you that flush. So this is what I'll apply. I know I've got powder on, but ultimately if you don't have a powder blusher in your lineup of products, then really you have to ensure that your creamy blusher works on top of a powder, but I have a feeling it'll be absolutely fine. So again, going to go in with exactly the same brush, maybe just give it a wipe just to get rid of excess product and gently dab it on. I don't want too much blush, just a little bit. And if you're doing this patting motion like I am, you shouldn't disturb your base at all. Although what it's done to the matte formula is made it look a little bit glowy, which in my world isn't a bad thing, but just in case. It's going to dip into the new Fenty Gloss Bomb Cream Color Drip Lip Cream. So this is like one of their new launches, and I think they had 5 shades. So this one is in Fenty Glow number 2. That's what it looks like. It's super pigmented. It looks quite like mauvey, bricky almost on my hand. But on the hand swatches online, again, it just looked very pink, a lot brighter, and that's what I liked about it. So in real life, this is not what I expected, but let's give it a go anyway, because I definitely need some color on my lips. So the formula is absolutely beautiful. It has a slight sweet scent to it, which I can't describe, but it's not unpleasant. Like, it smells really nice actually. And the color, it's so beautiful. It's definitely buildable, so if the more layers you do, the stronger the color, but for me, I just want something very natural today. So that's the Fenty Glow. Lastly, I just want to add some highlight before I get on to my final thoughts. So I'm going to apply the Diamond Bomb How Many Carats. This is the powder highlighter, and it's so gorgeous. It's a lot more sparklier than other highlighters, but it's so fun if you want something like instant. So I just apply it to the high points of my face and instantly look at that. So gorgeous. So let me just come up close for you guys. This is all natural light, as you can see. Skin is looking quite smooth. And I know with the foundation you can definitely build on the coverage. I haven't, just simply because I prefer a little bit of my skin to still show through, to look a little bit more natural, but it's definitely buildable. So like I said, it comes in 50 shades, it's £27 and it's 9.1 grams of product. So actually the price, it isn't too bad for powder foundation. Any compact foundation does tend to have a lot less product than a liquid foundation, but at the same time it can last longer because it's a powder. I just wanted to quickly read the how-to just to make sure that I've gone through everything. So in terms of how to apply this foundation, I've done it my own way, but I'm quite intrigued to see what they advise. So on the official Fenty Beauty website, they've said to prep, be sure to apply the Fenty Skin Moisturizer. Obviously, that's rubbish. You can apply whatever moisturizer you want. You don't have to apply theirs. They said then after moisturizing, apply your primer for best results. Obviously, if you apply a primer prior to this, then it will last longer, but I'm somebody that normally doesn't like to use primer other than, like I said earlier, where I have larger pores, so it fills it in. But honestly, like this foundation promised, it did fill in those pores and it looks really smooth even without the use of a primer. Quite rightly, they said the looser the brush, the lighter the coverage, which is correct. So if you want a lighter coverage, definitely I'd recommend a brush like this, where you can just stipple it or brush it on and it blends out so beautifully, but you still get coverage, and like I said, you can always build it up. They said that if you know your shade for the original Pro Filt'R liquid foundation, then you don't need to worry and it'll be exactly the same shade in this powder foundation. Again, I can't tell you whether that's true or not without trying it myself, but I would still recommend you always trial and test it, just because liquid and powder formulas are so different, so there's nothing to say that will be exactly the same shade. It's described as a buildable light to full coverage for all. I wouldn't describe this as light, maybe medium to full, but it definitely can still look natural. Long wearing, obviously, because it's a matte formula. Light as air, I would agree with that, and crease resistant, we shall see. Apparently it's sweat, humidity and crease resistant. It says it won't settle into fine lines, clog pores or cake up, so that's interesting. It reduces the appearance of shine, obviously because it's a matte formula. And it says it's a chic portable powder compact in hand, which I agree with. So final thoughts. So like I said, absolutely love the finish. So far it's not brought up any texture or dryness, which is incredible. Listen guys, if this manages to remain looking this flawless for the whole day, I'm sold. More than I already am. It definitely has a blurring effect around the areas where I have enlarged pores. It's definitely buildable. It definitely feels light as air, because honestly, I can't feel anything on my face. As you know, my only negatives is the sponge, which is so floppy. Look at that. No structure to it whatsoever. It's great as a fan. But no, it's so floppy and I just feel like it doesn't do anything. This is great if you're on the go, you've got it in your handbag, you just want to top up, maybe you finished work, you just want to give it a little bit of a top up, then perfect, this works. But I would generally say try to apply with something else. And the only other criticism I would say is the color description. So 210 is described as a light to medium with neutral undertones. It definitely doesn't have neutral undertones. It definitely has more of a golden base, because as you can see on my hand, it's almost like this orangey, there's almost like an orangey undertone to it, which I'm not really keen on. And that's why my face is a lot warmer than it should be versus my neck, which has no makeup on it. Like, look at my hand. You can see the difference in the color. Again, like I said, in the summertime, this color 210 probably would be perfect, but I definitely need to find perhaps a few shades lighter than I've got on now. And I'll be happy to keep this in my drawer for summer and then just perhaps find the right shade match for me for now. Again, with the contour bronzer shade, I wanted something that perhaps was a little bit like cooler or more neutral. And this was described as a medium deep with neutral undertones. Again, it's quite warm. As you can see, it's very golden, so it's perfect if you want that sort of sun-kissed, just been on holiday look, but If you want that neutral tone, it's not that. That's my only critique, that their descriptions perhaps aren't the most accurate, and that's why it's so important to, if you can, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic right now, but go to a counter and swatch it for yourself if they have testers. Otherwise, try and get like the makeup artist on counter to help you try and shade match you as best as possible, or as closely as possible. Please don't swatch on your hand because it won't look the same as it does on your face. In the future, on that note, I will be doing a video on how to find the right foundation color for you. I'll be going into detail about like undertones, including concealer, foundation. It's all about the tones, so I will go into detail about that in a future video. This is the final look, and I will update you down below like I promised, to give you an update as to how it lasted, but otherwise would highly recommend it from this standpoint. Please let me know what your thoughts are on this product, whether you've tried any Fenty bases before, like foundations, and what your thoughts are on Fenty makeup. Hope you've had an amazing Christmas, and I'll see you on the next one.
Every single day just is the same. Wake up, feel that emptiness of face. Wash away the pain and put some makeup on. Butterflies in my stomach, butterflies in my chest.